From June 8, people arriving in the UK by train, ferry or plane will have to self-isolate for 14 days. They'll also have to give details of where they'll be staying and can expect a visit from authorities who'll be doing spot checks. Anyone caught flouting the rules faces a fine of up to £1,000. There will be some exceptions. Truck drivers, medical workers and people entering from the Republic of Ireland will not have to isolate. The move comes just as many other European countries begin to loosen travel restrictions.
Now we are past the peak of this virus. We must take steps to guard against imported cases, triggering a resurgence of this deadly disease. And as the transmission rate across the United Kingdom falls and the number of travellers arriving in the UK begins to increase, imported cases could begin to pose a larger and increased threat.
Airlines in the UK warn this could be the final nail in the coffin for an industry already struggling to survive through the crisis. Some say the effects will be far wider reaching.
It will be devastating, not just for the aviation sector. I think we'll see tens of thousands of redundancies coming through from airports and airlines in the UK, but more devastating for our manufacturing and tourism sectors that rely on aviation. We've already seen 9,000 redundancies at Rolls-Royce last week. We're likely to see more coming like that, and we risk having this health epidemic becoming an unemployment epidemic.
The government says it will review the new rule every 3 weeks after it comes into force.
And for more on this, we are joined now by DW correspondent Birgit Maas in London. Birgit, how is this quarantine actually going to be set up and enforced?
Well, everybody arriving to the UK has to give a residential address. Now, that will probably make it very, very difficult for business travellers, but it has to be a residential address. All the details are passed on to the local authorities, and then public health officials might come around and do spot checks. And if they do find anybody who is not quarantining, who is not inside, then there's a hefty fine up to £1,000. So that really is a lot of money, and that will deter people for sure.
And is there any idea about how damaging this measure might be to the economy in general?
Well, we know that business groups are very, very worried. They are saying it's going to put people off coming to the UK. A manufacturing group has said it was isolationist, and you can imagine that it really makes it very, very hard for business travellers to come into the UK. Could possibly stop more or less business travelling into the UK. However, the public at large has always been very, very cautious, and they have always been very supportive of the lockdown. So it might be that there is some sort of disconnect here between what the business community are saying and what the public are supporting.
And why has the British government waited until now to implement this? Any idea?
Well, the British government have said that in the beginning of the crisis, they say the cases of the virus rising into the UK, so it wouldn't have made much difference if people had come from outside and also brought the virus in. Now, however, it's a different picture right now. They say that we're seeing the number of cases dropping quite sharply, and so now it would actually make a difference, and they are very worried about the risk of a second peak while the number of cases has been dropping and the lockdown has shown its effect. However, they also say that they're keeping this under review, and with all the pushback that they are getting, who knows how long this measure, how long this quarantine will really stay in place in the UK.
OK, DW correspondent Birgit Maas in London, thanks for that.